stop killing games. This is an issue that affects all of us on the internet, and the final result will determine how we own and play games in the future. I was young enough to remember the time when you could go to a game store and buy PC games on CD-ROM. As long as you had a compatible PC, you could own it, install it, and play it forever and ever. At least until either the CD got too damaged or your newer PC couldn't play it anymore. These days, game ownership has a very different meaning. Buying a game on Steam or Epic meant you had a license to play the game and did not actually grant you ownership. I will say though, if you buy off GOG, you do own it and it's yours forever. However, licensing isn't actually the issue here. In today's world, we are seeing a dangerous precedent by gaming companies where they can literally take your money and in the end provide nothing. Take The Crew, a racing game from 2014. This was a game that could be played on multiple platforms, including PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. Get this though, The Crew was an always online game, yet had a single player campaign. It was developed by Ubisoft and had a lifespan of about 10 years. In 2024, Ubisoft shut down its servers and walked away from the game. Because The Crew was an always online game, no workable servers meant the game was essentially dead. Ubisoft is in an active lawsuit now regarding the shutdown of this game, though they had claimed there were no unfettered ownership rights in the game, even though you owned a physical copy. To my understanding, game licenses were revoked without refunds, or mostly without refunds. Essentially, they were taking your money in the end and leaving you with nothing. In addition, Ubisoft has a termination clause in their end user license agreement where, upon agreement termination, such as would be in the case of The Crew, they demand you uninstall your product and destroy all copies in your possession, hitting home that you don't own their games even in physical form. Honestly, this is legally unenforceable and I'd love to see them try. I believe this sets a dangerous precedent in these times that any company can pull a game sometimes without notice, without any form of either refund or preservation. I see video games as a product. You buy it, it should be yours to keep forever. These companies, I suspect, see video games more as a service, where you pay a one-time license fee to play until they close their ride down completely. I don't see video games as a service, and neither should you. The precedent that was set by Ubisoft and The Crew has led to an initiative being developed to prevent this from happening to future video games. It's called Stop Killing Games, led by Ross Scott of Accursed Farms. Stop Killing Games seeks to uphold the rights of consumers who have either bought video games or conducted microtransactions in video games. It shines a light on the need for video game developers and publishers constructing an end-of-life plan when the time comes to discontinue company servers and in-game support. For single-player games, this could be as easily as developing a single-player campaign that could be playable offline. Multiplayer games and MMOs, while tricky to handle, could have a final build handed to the gaming community for community devs to work on, to host their own servers, and allow the game to live on in a community form. To Ubisoft's credit at least, they are working on offline modes to The Crew 2 and The Crew Motorfest, but the precedent hasn't stopped. At the time of making this video, BioWare with Electronic Arts announced that Anthem, also an always online game, will have all its servers shut down in January 2026. This will make Anthem unplayable and adding to the dangerous precedent of destroying your game, taking your money, and leaving you with nothing. There has been a ton of support for this movement, but the backlash coming from the industry is growing. Pirate Software, for example, really fell down the rabbit hole on misunderstanding the initiative and what it was actually all about. Recently, Video Games Europe believed that the ultimate objective of Stop Killing Games, requiring games at the end of life to be in a functional, playable state, was too expensive for developers and publishers, as well as that community-supported games present legal liabilities for companies. Respectfully, I think that's bullshit. Let's go over some key points. Stop Killing Games seeks video games that are sold to consumers to be left in a playable, functional state when it's reached end of life. It also asks the same for free-to-play games that involve microtransactions being sold to consumers. Publishers do not need to give up any IP or any source code. They will not need to provide endless support or host their own servers. They will not need to assume any liability for consumer actions whatsoever. The initiative also does not seek to interfere with any business practice of any video game that is still receiving support. No connection to the publisher will be required when support ends. In my view, single-player games do not need an online function. Multiplayer games can be hosted on end-user or community servers, and it won't cost the earth to plan and implement an end-of-life strategy in video games, despite what some may tell you. Devs can be proactive rather than reactive when it comes to building and developing a video game. Though in my view, the issue isn't as much for the devs as it is the publishers and those whose actions need to be held accountable. I am fully in support of the Stop Killing Games movement. Actions have already been taken in multiple countries. In Australia, where I'm from, the matter is currently before the ACCC. Right now, there are petitions running for the European Citizens Initiative as well as to the UK government. So if you're from the EU or the UK, I highly recommend you put your name to whichever applies to you. While the EU petition already has well over 1 million signatures, the more people that sign, the more that genuine signatures will counteract those that are ineligible. People will say the EU petition is broad or vague. This is because it allows the ECI to engage in a proper conversation with consumers, devs and publishers to draft a framework that will work in everyone's best interests, rather than providing specifics that shoehorn one side against another. The future of video games hangs on this initiative, and I implore everyone to take note, read up on the issues, sign the petitions if you're eligible, and spread the word. Video games are a product, not a service. We need to keep it that way. We need to keep what we've paid for. Stop killing games.